Good evening, everybody. It's your favorite aspiring revolutionary here, a wandering author, reminding you that we are all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. Today, we're going to be discussing the Arcademian War, which is the first major phase of the Peloponnesian War. Remember, before the Trojan War, the people were prevented from using the name Hellenes by their want of strength and the absence of mutual intercourse from displaying any collective action, according to Thucydides. But no, literally, at the middle of the classical age in Greece, Athens and Sparta had grown to become the most powerful they had been since the time of the Trojan War, or like the Bronze Age collapse, right? And Thucydides established the tradition of framing the Peloponnesian War as one overarching conflict, and he was a contemporary of the events, which is actually a unique thing for us. It's one of the first wars where we have a contemporary that was actively writing a full chronological account of their story. The war's initial 10-year stint has been deemed the Archidamian War after Archidamus II, the Eurypontid Spartan king. Archidamus actually tried to avert conflict, and Thucydides has him say, quoting, "If we begin the war in haste, we'll have many delays before we end it, owing to our lack of preparation." So, the Spartan king, at least the way Thucydides portrays him, is kind of hesitant to start the Peloponnesian War, because Sparta was not prepared. And also remember, the Spartan male citizen population is always constrained numerically, meaning like it was tough for them to sustain an adequate army. But Sparta's war party prevailed. And Wikipedia's intro paragraph with citations on the Spartan army reads as follows, and I quote, "The Spartan army stood at the center of the Spartan state, citizens trained in the disciplines and honor of a warrior society." End quote. Another quote, subjected to military drills since early manhood, the Spartans became one of Greece's most feared and formidable military forces, and between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE, other Greeks commonly accepted that one Spartan was worth several men from any other state. On land, the Spartans were uncontested, but the rival Athenian empire drew its power, wealth, and prosperity from the sea. #Navy. Thus, Archidamus led a land invasion of Attica, the peninsula surrounding Athens, and planned on provoking the Athenians into a hopeless land battle by devastating the countryside, housing richly populated villas. Thucydides recounts Pericles' reaction to the public's mounting terror in a famous speech called Pericles' Funeral Oration. It was a long-standing tradition to publicly honor those sacrificed to war, but this particular speech was different. A eulogy to Athens itself. And this is, so when Pericles was leading Athens, he departs from tradition and focuses on Athenian greatness in non-military domains. And in Thucydides 237:1, he is quoted as saying, "Our constitution does not copy the laws of neighboring states. We are rather a pattern to others than imitators ourselves." Which, to me, stood out because it shows that, one, they have the concept of a constitution already, which is really kind of an advanced concept if you really think about how much effort and coordination it must take to actually create a constitutional government before there was the thought of one. And then also they already recognized that other people were imitating them. We are a pattern to others rather than imitators ourselves. Its administration favors the many instead of the few. This is why it is called a democracy. If we look to the laws, they afford equal justice to all in their private differences. If a man is able to serve the state, he is not hindered by the obscurity of his condition. We have an inborn tendency to admire the warrior elite society of the Spartans, but the more Parisian Athenians were the ones defending democracy in this war. After the war's first year settled, Pericles gave his famous speech to the terrified citizens of Athens, encouraging them with common symbols of virtue. During the war's first phase, Spartans were limited. They had to tend their fields and suppress potential Helot revolts, so they never managed to occupy Attica for longer than 40 days at once. So they like pillaging the countryside. Pericles admirably led Athenian naval forces to victory at Naupactus, taking Athens on the offensive. Navy democracy link. Then, in 430 BCE, the plague arrives. This infection laid waste to Athens' citizenry, even killing their champion Pericles. Quoting, roughly 1/3 to 2/3 of the city's population dies. #facts. That's pretty devastating. This plague got so bad that foreign mercenaries start refusing Athenian gold due to fear of disease, so it was hard for the Athenians to even front a fighting force from a distance. Rumors spread so swiftly, Sparta's forces abandoned the invasion, fearing pestilence. To me, that almost seems like psychological warfare. Maybe because Athens doesn't disappear, the city. Supposedly 1/3 to 2/3 of their population dies, and then the Spartan army disappears. But then Athens goes on the offensive. After the death of Pericles, the Athenians turned somewhat against his conservative defensive strategy and to the more aggressive strategy of bringing the war to Sparta and its allies. That was another quote from Wikipedia. It's funny. Athenian democracy had an interesting advocate on the rise, Cleon, the first prominent representative of the commercial class in Athenian politics. The commercial class. He was remembered by Thucydides, our favorite historian, and the comedic playwright Aristophanes as an unscrupulous, warmongering demagogue. So it seems like democracy has always been vulnerable to those characters. However, Cleon's rough, get-it-done attitude accomplished several significant victories and turns the Arcademian War around into Athens' favor. Encouraging the Helots to revolt near was fruitful, and anxiety over the potential ignited a Spartan attack on the island post-Pylos, giving Demosthenes an opportunity to encircle them. Weeks later, unable to finish the encircled Spartans, Cleon boasted to the assembly he could close the deal, and he did win a great victory at Sanctaria. Shockingly, Cleon's army forced a Spartan surrender, shattering their invincible image. And this was devastating to Spartan morale, because for the longest time, nobody had been able to best them in battle. Then, Cleon leveraged the Spartan hostages that he had captured in this battle and threatened to execute them. Yet, Brasidas countered by marching an allied Helot army into the length of Greece to Amphipolis. All the way there, on foot. Amphipolis was the silver supply, a crucial element in Athenian war plans. Thucydides is actually defeated as he tried to avert the city's capture, leading to his exile and eventual creation of his famed history of the Peloponnesian War. Brasidas and Cleon both die in the ensuing efforts to retake the city, and a peace accord is signed shortly afterward. Nicias of Cyanthidae negotiated the aptly named Peace of Nicias, which has been deemed farcical right from the beginning. So, not only were several Peloponnesian states unsatisfied with the accords, but when Sparta attempted to exchange an Athenian fortress for the city of Pylos as stipulated by the treaty, Boeotian occupiers destroy it. Consequently, a Spartan commander refused to relinquish Amphipolis to Athens, indicating their flimsy commitment to peace. In Athens, the warhawks, Hyperbolus and Alcibiades, arranged 100-year alliances with 3 democratic states in the Peloponnese, Argos, Elis, and Mantinea. Alcibiades, ward of Pericles and son of an Alcimedid mother, became famous for his use of persuasion, charm, and passion to influence and manipulate the world at will. And tomorrow, or the next time we talk about Greek history, where we'll pick up with the Peace of Nicias, which ends the first phase of the Peloponnesian War. And to close tonight, I want to talk about, very vaguely, some of the stuff that I've experienced over the last 2 weeks. Well, first off, I've been going through a training program that has also been, I don't know if it's entirely self-imposed, partially self-imposed, but through a combination of numerous factors, an interesting, psychologically invigorating experience. In some ways, I would almost compare it to like how I imagine a CIA interview would go, where they like try to psychologically break down their candidate, basically, but without them knowing at the time. At the same time, I'm not sure. I think I was more aware of what was going on than other people thought I might have been, but I don't know. Here's the thing. If you ever are followed by somebody, all it takes is one person to obviously follow you, and then all of a sudden you're paranoid, thinking that everybody's following you, anytime anybody's around you. So it's better to just focus on knocking doors, because at the end of the day, it's hard to really know how big these guys are. But I think I may have impressed them too. Actually, I know I have, in some ways, but I think they don't trust me, and that's actually reasonable. If you know me, then you look at my own personal history just based off like the last relationship I had, and also when I got arrested at 21 and 22. There are some red flags there, obviously, and so it pays a lot. And this company is a family-owned company, and I'm pretty sure that I've met the family, and they're really cool people. And I am very grateful that they're even giving me an opportunity to try and earn their trust. So, especially I feel comfortable. So maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, I tried literally hanging myself with the intention of committing suicide. I am 100% better now, and not that this opportunity or company is like a destined thing for me, but it's such an interesting thing that you can watch my journey this summer. And at the very start of this journey, I was like not doing well mentally. Like I was really like, I was okay. I was more stable than I had been, but I was still really like feeling pathetic, basically. And by the end of this summer, I started to finally feel competent, capable, and confident again. So, competent, capable, and confident, yeah. And what I would really like to do more than anything, because I have had actual traumas in my life, is use those as fuel in order to give back to the broader world. And one of my own toughest obstacles to overcome is the lack of trust that I have in the wider world. So, that being said, I have had an interesting and exciting experience the past several weeks, and am looking forward to contributing to what I believe will be a major player in the home remodeling industry coming in the near future. Even though it's already a big presence, I think it's going to become similar to what happened at my last employer, which #blew up. Anyways, this is a wandering author here, reminding you that we are all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. What are you guys doing in order to inspire, uplift, and empower your local community today? Because this world isn't changing unless you all do our part, and you can count on me to do mine daily. Till next time, love y'all. Good night.